Hey Reddit, what are some company secrets you can reveal for a company you no longer work for? Come to Walmart Deli after 7 to 8 p.m. We mark everything down. You're welcome. As a broke student, I thank you. I used to work in financial services. Agents would sell products based on the commission and not on how well the investment actually performed. Our customer service department was pretty much always taking calls from people who had been deceived about what to expect from their investment. I work for the post office now, and I will honestly say I have never worked with such hardworking people before. There are problems with managers expecting you to get things done quicker than humanly possible, and a lot of our equipment is old and falling apart. But I honestly feel like the vast majority of my coworkers are trying to take care of our customers and to just get home safely. There is retail employees, and probably call center sales reps, are actively encouraged to lie to you to close the sale. Staples, and probably some other stores, they price match as long as the product is shipped and sold by Amazon. You can get many great deals at a convenient location. Always check for prices on Amazon because I can guarantee a lot of stuff there is overpriced. Best Buy does this, too. This is about a decade old, so may no longer be applicable, but Microsoft has special pricing for non-profits that is about 1/10 the regular price. They don't advertise this, so a lot of resellers still sell the software to their non-profit customers at the regular price and enjoy the higher profit margin. I worked at Great Clips. The stylists are strongly advised to only cut a client's hair between 10-15 minutes. If the stylist's average haircut time is more than 15-17 minutes, they might get talked to by the manager about speeding up their services or written up if it continues to happen. Stylists also get paid based on how fast and how many clients they have that day. If a person comes in with a long, tangled rat's nest and wants a complicated haircut that takes you an hour to deal with, they can freak up your timed average for the day and freak your pay. Chain barbershops suck. I only trust Dominicans in the hood to touch my hair. Glassdoor.com does remove job reviews and does let employers choose which ones get shown first. At least they're not good at covering. It's pretty obvious when the first 2 are 5 stars, the manager's crap happy rainbows and dollar bills, and the next 10 are 1-star reviews that sound like they're written by Marines with PTSD having flashbacks to Iraq. At Anytime Fitness, personal trainers are only required to get a AMFPT certification. It's basically a mail order degree, for insurance purposes. They can also let you out of your membership personal training contract with a few click of a mouse with no penalties to you or them, they just don't. Car insurance. Your credit score is a huge factor in determining your rates. People disproportionately think it's a speeding ticket in their driving history. Sure, it does. But if you wrote 2 identical policies for identical cars with 2 identical people in the same zip code, but a huge difference in credit score, you'd see completely disproportionate prices. Most agents don't talk about it, and in a bigger national companies, they'll likely automatically escalate the call to a specialist. I was surprised how little the car mattered. When I was shopping for a new car, I picked a few candidates and ran them by my insurance company for estimates. 2-door, 4-door, SUVs, etc. But I had picked a budget, so they were all the same price, so they all came back costing pretty much the same for insurance. I worked at NASA as a contractor for 2 years. 90% of the computing hardware was very antiquated and out of date. I saw a lot of Dell computers from the mid-2000s still being used. Yes, even pre-thin style monitors. That beige or off-white color. They are pretty underfunded and spend most of their money on more advanced hardware like supercomputers, large servers, etc. But the basic hardware is really out of date. In fact, the whole place looked like a museum of the 1990s. The architecture, the dress styles, the lighting, carpet, and so on. It was very strange, almost eerie. Worked at PetSmart. I was actually told by a manager that it wasn't my responsibility, as a goddamn pet care associate, to tell people things like a plecto, an algae-eating fish that grows a foot, was inappropriate for a 10-gallon tank. I don't know if it was that particular PetSmart or if they're all like that, but they definitely prioritized profit margin over animal welfare. You have people like me who actually give a crap, but it's just a few of us against a tidal wave of ignorance and straight up negligent malice. I worked at a luxury movie theater for 3 years, complete with service to your seat, oversized recliner seats, pillows and blankets. The pillows and blankets were never washed, ever, but the break room was stocked with brand new ones. Always ask for a new blanket. I'm sure movie theaters weren't retrofitted for WD. Champs Restaurants. The flavor in the seasoned sour cream you can't figure out is curry powder. Yours is the only answer that hasn't made me sad. AT&T's customer service call center is run out of Canada. They made us say we were in the US, so I said I was in Detroit because it was across the river. Worked call center for Sprint Nextel. This was before smartphones, so tech support and customer support were relatively simple. 1. Staff turnover was so high that you couldn't get fired no matter how bad a CSR you were. If you turned up on time and sat at your desk the entire shift, no one gave a crap. 2. Sometimes the exorbitant wait times were due to only having 2 people on shift for the entire network. Sometimes they were because CSRs would keep the line open after a customer disconnected to avoid taking another call. 3. The security identification system means jack crap. If you've ever had an ex, stalker or anyone turn up where you live after thinking they couldn't possibly know, blame the lazy CSR who ignored the warning notes and security protocol and gave all your information away. 4. When they say they're going to put you on hold, but there's no music, you're actually muted and we can hear everything you say. 5. Customer service, billing and tech support were all the same people. Tech support was a roulette of good, knowledgeable people. 6. We used to have access to customers' online accounts for tech support needs, but we could also see any texts or old school MMS messages. 7. All calls are recorded. All of them. They're all stored for an indeterminate amount of time in case there's a legal need for it. I am in Mexico and used to work at call centers. They would ask us to always state we were located in the US. I worked for Comcast and Sprint Nextel, but there were some other campaigns such as HP Tech Support or AT&T or Verizon. Canada here, and almost guarantee if you don't hear background chatter it is not because of good mics. It is because that person is most likely working from home but still are supposed to say they are in a call center. I ran the lens lab at a Pearl Vision back in the day. The most expensive frames we carried, the Arminus, cost us about $20 and cost you $400 to $600. The most expensive lenses, outside of real ophthalmic specialties, what we called MTPROAs, polycarbonate aspheric with anti-glare, anti-scratch, cost them less than $20 and cost you $400. So a $1,000 pair of Armani glasses with all the bells and whistles, it cost about $40. The lab guy who made it was making $12 HR. The lab itself, top of the line from Essilor, was about $250 K. Peanuts compared to the profit margin. All staff, even just sales staff, had to wear lab coats and glasses at all times. If you didn't need glasses, you just wore glasses with zero prescription. The company would provide you outright with an eye exam every year, and once per year with a pair of prescription glasses and prescription sunglasses. Top of the line as long as they were in style that year. That was actually a cool perk. Oh, this was one of my favorites. In Maine, at the time, Medicare wouldn't cover anti-scratch coating for adults. All of our CR39, the basic plastic lens, super easy to scratch, just came with that pre-applied. We were actually supposed to intentionally strip that coating for Medicare customers, costing us time and labor while depriving the customer. 99% of the time we just didn't bother. Candyman here. We left chocolate out in display cases for months on end. When my friends came by to the store I told them to avoid it at all costs. IDK what to feel about happily consuming samples offered now. Worked in several chain restaurants through college as a cook. Nothing to report that you probably haven't heard already, but I can tell you, most of the things you've been warned about are true, but the best thing I can tell you is, don't go to a restaurant within 30 minutes or so of its closing time. The cooks have already cleaned in an attempt to go home. At best you're getting the scraps left on the counter. At worst, well you've peed off the cooks. Oh, and I cooked at Hooters. They literally train the waitresses on how to flirt with customers. No, they don't like you. In fact, if you're a particularly odd looking or annoying customer, they tell the other waitresses about you and they look at you through the kitchen windows and mock you. I've been in the industry for 15 years. I'm not cooking scraps last minute, but I guarantee everyone in that restaurant hates you and it isn't cooked with the passion we try to put out. As per my username used to work for hotels, escaped in November of 2018. Sites like Expedia can and do book more rooms than the hotel physically has. You want to be sure there will be a bed for you. Book on the hotel's own website. Used to work the night audit at a chain hotel. Can confirm. If you've got a late check-in and you're one of the last people to show up, say at, like, 2 AM, it's very possible that your guaranteed reserved room is gone. I was a glazier, which is a guy who works with glass, residential, high-rise, commercial, etc. Before I went through an accredited apprenticeship, I worked at a well-known glass shop in town. I started out doing residential work. I remember going to this lady's house, measuring her broken window, calling the office to get a quote, and they asked me, "How nice of a house is it?" I asked, "Why would that matter? Quotes are based on SQ footage, type of glass, and man hours." The office lady responded, "If it's a nice house we charge more." What was embarrassing is I was on speakerphone. How can they base a price on how nice the house is? Freaking ridiculous. The look on that old lady's face was bizarre. I was embarrassed as heck. Needless to say, she didn't use us for the install. Companies that deal with commercial truck driving licenses often have their drivers fudge the logbook numbers to make it look legal. The new e-log is gonna be painful for many CDL holders. Worked at Michael's Arts and Crafts doing picture framing. It's retail. We didn't make commissions. The prices are non-negotiable, but there is always a sale of some kind. Never just go in because you have something that needs framing. Ask what the best possible sale is and then just wait for it to happen. Also, they do try to provide archival services, but whether or not this was fulfilled was highly dependent on the location you took it to and the people working there. Helped out at a number of different stores, saw a lot of crap and heard a lot of horror stories. Is the store understaffed but in a high foot traffic area? They're probably cutting corners. I worked at Express and Victoria's Secret for years. No employee can do anything about shoplifters. If you see someone steal something, we were supposed to go over and ask if they needed help. You could literally swipe whatever you want quickly before they call mall security and book it out of the store with hundreds of dollars in merchandise, and the employees can't do anything about it because they don't want to be sued. Same at Ulta. One of my shift managers got fired for calling the cops on a lady. Panera Bread. All of the soups. All of them come in frozen and in plastic bags. Also, none of the dough is made in-house. It's shipped to the store every night and thawed. Reformation. Their fabric is ridiculously overpriced because they are marketing towards the green gal who suddenly cares about sustainable clothing. They've duped people into ditching stores like Forever 21 because they makes their clothes with crappy synthetic fibers to a brand that makes the same quality of clothing with renewable fabrics. Also, it's a startup, so the store infrastructure is jacked. Management is young. Protocol is non-existent. HR is imaginary, and if any of the 20-something girls in management don't like a particular Instagram post of yours, you can be fired. I worked at an independent gym, but at most gyms the sign-up special is only there to mark up the perceived value of the membership. It's to convince you to buy into it with the idea that you're getting a special discount. The reality is that the original price doesn't actually exist and the deal or discount you get doesn't actually expire. It's just the standard membership rates that everybody is paying. I worked for the Northwest Company in northern Canada. The inner cart that they sell for hundreds or thousands of dollars they buy for $10.20 from the artist. I asked a manager why. He said it's because they're poor anyway. I quit that evil company the next week. Savers Value Village unique thrift stores chain, and I'm assuming others, are able to get most of their stock from charities. When you donate directly yourself, you are saving them the charity's transportation fee. That do all the legwork. They collect the clothing, electronics, household items in the name of their respective charities door to door or through donation boxes on the street and ship them to the store. The store would then pay a very low amount per pound, something like 3 cents a manager told me, and have employees sort rate price the product. Depending on the department, whatever didn't meet our standards for sale or didn't end up selling in 6 weeks got their version of recycled. Clothes and shoes would be sold to a third world country market. Books and disc-based media, CDs, DVDs, games, at least at my store, were sold to a guy who sold on Amazon. He was paying 30 cents LB, so imagine what he was making. If it wasn't recyclable, it ended up in a garbage can. This included everything: glass, wood, plastic, magazines, cassettes, records, photos, and cartridge-based games, until I came along. AskReddit I worked at Target and PetSmart for some time, and they both had this weird policy about stealing that I've heard applies to most big chains. Basically, a regular employee could not stop a low-price thief. Obviously we can't let someone just walk out with a TV or live animal, but I was forbid from doing anything about small shoplifters. It's bad for the image of the store, and if you happen to be wrong, there could be a lawsuit or discrimination accusation that could cause a lot of trouble. So most of the times they just let you walk out fully knowing you stole something. At PetSmart, I happened to be working the register when a customer came up and alerted me that there was someone stealing a bunch of dog shampoo and shoving it in her purse. The location didn't have many employees and all the beauty supplies were kept way at the back. I called my supervisor over and she said not to do anything when the lady came to ring up one very small thing. The shampoos were very noticeably sticking out of her bag. My supervisor asked if she needed to pay for them and the person said no, and we just let her walk out. Apparently if we think someone's stealing, we're supposed to nice it out of them. If not, oh well. It's a chain store, so it's not like losing this merchandise is such a big deal, I suppose. Whoa, people are bold to steal like that. I worked at Dunkin' Donuts, and at least at my location, all the crap was frozen. The free samples are the oldest donut we have, and when serving, we pick donuts from the back of the tray, as those are the oldest. Also, my location wasn't too high volume, so we didn't switch out coffee every 18 minutes like we were supposed to. Coffee could be a few hours old. Sometimes donuts were over 5 or 8 hours old if they were a low demand kind. Don't hire student painting companies. The franchises don't even need painting experience and the workers are paid minimum wage. You don't need experience to be hired as a painter, and are trained in 2 weeks by the boss who doesn't know how to paint. The paint jobs were worse than you'd do them yourself most times, just with a warranty and some quality assurance on the part of the best painter in the group. Being a butcher, I found out that a lot of things you're told to do goes against food hygiene. Bit of meat fell on the floor, pick it up and give it a wash. Meat hit that point, it can't be in the window, mince it. Chicken will go bad tomorrow, kebab it. Just after Christmas we had a load of extra bacon that we didn't sell and was taking ages to go. It got to the point where the bacon was sticky and started growing mold fur. I was told to scrape off the mold fur and put it in the window for display. The joints and the sausages were hung up with rusted hooks and put me way off. The butchers got top cleanliness ratings for some reason. Nordstrom. You can return anything. They will take it back, used and all. Used to work with a blockchain and crypto company, quite by accident, but that's another story, and was the admin of a Telegram group. My bosses bought a bunch of SIM cards and made me take on different personas in the group to make it look active. There was stretches of time where it was just me talking to myself for 2 days. I felt weird doing it, but my bosses say that this is super common in the crypto sphere. Dark times. A local home cleaning company I worked for, they charge different rates for each client. When the owner rolls up in a swanky neighborhood, she charges more per hour and the fees are higher. If it's a house she doesn't want to clean, instead of declining the job, she gives a bloated estimate in hopes they won't hire her. Her husband conducts the interviews and team meetings and has no business being around the female employees, which is all they hire. He is a sociopath and is creepy as frick. He insists on a minimum of 3 interviews and then wants to meet your or mother, if you're single. And yes, he interviews them, too. He also discusses religion, your political stance, your plans for future children, and finally, he gives you forms to fill out that detail your finances, such as rent, groceries, utilities, etc. He does this because he wants to help you budget on what they pay you. Not done yet. They try to make you listen to self-help books in your free time and occasionally have you wear a cam while cleaning for training purposes. But they don't get permission from the homeowner to do this. They also don't pay hourly. It's all merit based. You get like $1.50 for cleaning a half bath, $3 for a full bath, $4 for vacuuming the whole house, etc. Each house has like a team of 3 and since some jobs pay more, there is squabbling over who is going which job, which breeds contention and hostility. They started the interview and merit pay practices after I left, but I stayed friends with the women on my team. I actually left to start my own cleaning business and have had a couple of the women work with me when they needed a little extra cash. They filled me in on everything. I couldn't stay because the way they charge people is so unethical. I don't have hidden fees and no matter the size of your bank account, everyone gets the same rate. Of course, if you're rich with a huge house, it'll cost more, but I charge hourly, not per job. Same hourly rate for a cashier or a doctor, plus a $10 fee for supplies and travel. No surprises. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.